In Christianity, your ethics would only be
Because why?
subjective, but
Because
in my
you can choose
ethics, they
to
would be
follow it or not.
objective.
That's so stupid. That's
Oh,
so.
that's so stupid. That's so stupid. He says, mind twisting itself into
So why?
pretzels.
So
He's
why? So
trying to
why
find
inform?
the escape, and he can't do it.
Someone.
How's it going, Adrian?
I mean, you're right.
Yep. Uh,
Sorry, my sound might be a bit. Can you hear me all right?
it's a bit muffled, but sure, yeah. How old are you?
I'm 32,
Yep. And what religion?
Orthodox.
Yeah. What makes you think that God exists or that Christianity is true?
So sorry. Let me just put the other earbud in as well.
You're like muffling, or sorry, not muffling, you're like mumbling.
Is this better?
Yeah.
All right. So you posed the question, God isn't real, which is a positive claim. So
Mhm.
I want to hear your justification first.
Yeah. Just that knowledge is impossible in terms of like God's existence. Like God himself couldn't have knowledge because his knowledge would necessarily need to be circular. His knowledge would be like grounded in itself because he's omniscient. So part of the partial grounding for omniscience is truth, but omniscience gives him access to all truths, including the truth that he is omniscient. So his omniscience would be grounded in his omniscience. So that would just be
So
a
what is
circular
knowledge?
instance of
Is
grounding, which
knowledge a
means that it's not
universal
possible for
category?
God to actually have knowledge.
What is knowledge?
Are you asking for a definition?
Yeah,
Just
is
whatever
it
you mean when you say
transcendental?
knowledge is fine. Whatever version of knowledge you would like to take up is totally fine.
So is knowledge universal?
What do you mean by universal?
Like the concept of knowledge, does it exist without a human mind to really perceive it or
I think like a mind would
make
probably
sense of
need to
it?
exist in order for there to be knowledge. I think that you can have
How
knowledge of
about
states of affairs where no minds exist. Like, for example, you could deduce that the sun couldn't both exist and not exist, even like prior to humans existing. But certainly,
all right,
I think
so
that
that's what
if
I.
there were no minds, then nothing would know anything, of course.
So that comes into the realm of logic, isn't it? Is logic
Mhm.
universal?
But
Does
I'm
it
so
is
sorry.
it
We kind of moved away. Do you have like a refutation to the argument?
so first we have to establish what the terms that we're discussing are. So is knowledge
The argument holds
a
under any
universal
possible
category
way that
or
you could define it. It's still going to come back to the fact that God's omniscience is partially grounded in God's omniscience, which is circular. So you need to reject the
where do you
premise because
come
this
up
is
with
true under
God's
literally every
omniscience?
conception of knowledge.
So in my belief, God is outside of space and time, so therefore he doesn't need to ground his existence into anything. He's eternal.
But what is God's knowledge grounded in?
God is the fountain of knowledge.
But
Knowledge springs forth from him.
and does God know that?
God is not a person like you and I. He's not these transcendental categories. They have so they I'm sorry, English is not my first language.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find my terms. So knowledge, logic, morality, um, any other things you can think of. Those are transcendental categories. So the mere fact that they exist as transcendental universal categories, yeah, they are universals. It breaks apart what you perceive God to be, or your opinion of God is not a person like you and I. So the same way that logic does not need a mind to exist. Like A cannot be B at the same time. A is A, B is B. The law of no contradiction, the law of excluded middles, the law of identity, they exist without you and me, without anybody on this planet. Laws of physics, anything you can think of. They don't require knowledge in the first place. They are understood by us, but they are not invented or made by us.
Do you think
So
that
the mere
answers
fact
my
that
question?
transcendental categories exist, it certainly does, yes.
Yeah, what was the question that I asked you?
That does God have knowledge if he's omniscient is circular?
That's not a
Is
question,
mainly
that's a
what you,
statement. So do you remember what question I asked you? Do you want me to ask you again?
if you could rephrase it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just ask the question again. It's a yes or a no. Does God know that he's the source of all knowledge?
Well, what knowledge are you talking about?
I'm just
Like knowledge
asking.
of what?
Just all knowledge. You said God is the source of all knowledge. He's the fountain from which knowledge springs forth.
But you
Does
have
God
to
know
you
that he
have
is the
to you have
fountain
to
from which all
define what
knowledge
knowledge
springs
is
forth?
first.
Whatever you
You have
mean
to
when you
define
say
your
knowledge,
terms.
you said knowledge
No,
multiple times. When you
you
said
put
the
the
phrase,
term. No,
God is
you
the
put the
fountain
term
from which
forward.
knowledge springs forth, whatever you meant when you said that, we can just work with that
All right.
definition. That's totally fine.
Let's track
I'm
back
just
a bit.
asking,
Let's
does
track back a
God
bit.
know that he's
Okay,
the
let's track
fountain
back a
from which
bit.
all knowledge springs forth? Does he know that?
All right. So let's track back to your
It's a yes
question.
or a
You posed
no.
the term knowledge.
That's
You
going to
have
be
to
a
define your
dodge.
term.
Let's just write that down as
It's
dodge
not a
number
dodge.
1. Let's get try
It's
number
not a
2 on
dodge.
the board.
You
The
said
question's
so.
very
You posed the question.
straightforward. Does
Knowledge did
God
not come
know
into
that
the
he is the
question.
source of all knowledge? It's either going to be a yes or a no. Which one is it?
Mate, the word knowledge did not come into the conversation until you posed the question.
You
So you have to
said
now
that
define what you mean by
God is the
knowledge. I
source
asked
of
you.
all knowledge. Whatever you meant when you said God is the source of all knowledge, that's what I'm asking about. That's what we're talking about. You use the term,
When
you
you
know what
ask
the
the
term
question.
means. Whatever you mean when you use the term is totally fine. This problem
All right, you're
exists on
starting to
every
babble
single
now.
conception of
I can't have a
knowledge.
conversation if you
This guy's
babble.
just grandstanding, and I take that to be dodge number 2. Let's get try number 3. You've dodged the question twice now. Don't dodge the question 3
I
times in a
asked you
row.
what
Nobody
knowledge
wants
is
to
the
see you
moment you asked
throdge
the
the
question.
question. Don't dodge the
The
question
moment
3
you
times
asked
in a
the
row. The
question
question's
about
very
knowledge, I
straightforward.
asked you what
In fact,
knowledge
I
is, and
think
you
the
never
answer
gave
is
me an answer.
obvious. The question is, does God know that he is the source of all knowledge? Does he know that?
What is knowledge then? We start
It's going
from
to be
square one.
dodge number 3. This guy throdged the question. You dodged
You're
the
failed,
question 3
man. You
times
have
in a row.
no
And
grasp
it's
of
not just
anything.
because your stance is indefensible, it's because your stance is indefensible and your bad faith. I'll ask the
That's a
question a
fallacy,
4th time.
buddy.
I don't know how many hours of weasel footage you watched in preparation for this debate. I don't know if you're trying out for the starting lineup of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but I just want an answer to the question. Try number 4. Does God know that he's the source of all knowledge?
What is knowledge?
Whatever you mean when you say that God is the source of all
No,
knowledge, we can just use that definition.
you posed
The
the term. You
definition,
said knowledge.
whatever you
What is
mean when you say
knowledge?
the term, you use the
No, you
term.
have to give me
Whatever
the
you mean
definition.
when you
You
say
use
the
the
term,
word, you give me the
that's totally
definition.
fine. We're talking about your
Yeah.
worldview, so whatever you mean, it's an internal critique.
No. It's you made a
It's an
positive
internal
claim.
critique. We're talking
You
about your worldview.
determine the definition.
We're talking about
It's
your worldview. It's an internal
it's
critique. We
not
can just
my
use your
worldview.
definition.
It's
So
not
maybe you don't know what
an
an
internal
internal critique
critique.
is.
You
That's
made a
totally fine.
positive
I'll explain
claim.
this to you. So an internal critique is when you
My God.
presuppose the other person's worldview so as to
You
try
failed,
to
man.
derive a contradiction. So we're working
You
within
failed.
your
If you're big
worldview
enough,
at
somebody will
present.
analyze
And the way
this.
that you could tell that is by the fact that the question that I'm asking you is about God and the way that he comes to knowledge and the way that he comes to know things. Just like the
You
problem of
made a
evil, for
positive
example,
claim.
is an internal critique. So it would need to work within the worldview and the standards of the person. We're also doing an internal critique when we ask these sorts of questions, which means that we're just working with your definition of knowledge. So I hope that clarifies. Now let's get try number 5 because you've
You
quadged the
made a
question at
claim.
this
It has
point.
to be
You
your
dodged the
definition.
question 4 times in a row. So now we'll get a 5th time. Don't dodge it 5 times in a row. Does God know that God is the source of all knowledge?
This is a fallacy. You did not define your term.
That's going to be dodge
You're
number 5. This
fallacious
guy
in your.
pentodged the question. He can't answer the question. The answer is obvious, but he's too bad faith to actually engage with the question. Don't hexodge the question. Nobody wants to be in the midst of a hexodger. The question's very straightforward. Does God know that God is the source of all knowledge?
Mate, you have to define it.
Yes or no?
Let's say knowledge of.
Yes or no?
Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the world
Whatever
existing?
knowledge means in your worldview? Because it's an internal critique.
In my worldview, God is knowledge. What don't you understand?
Is God love?
Yes, God is love.
Is
Yeah.
love knowledge?
No.
Oh, well, then you just reject logic. A is B, B is C, therefore A is C.
How can
So
God
wait,
be
I'll
love
actually
if
write this
it's
out for you, and then maybe we can get
made?
clear on
I'm
this.
not a Platonist.
I didn't say
You
you
don't
are a
know who you're.
Platonist.
Then why do you assume that God has to be just one thing? I'm not believing in a monad.
Wait, do you think God is divinely simple?
No.
Is God identical to knowledge?
No.
What does it mean to say that God is knowledge? What does that mean?
Because he's the source of all knowledge.
What does that mean to say God? Is he knowledge, or is he the source of all knowledge? Oh wait, you actually just gave a
I'm not
circular
a
argument. Wait, this is
Platonist.
devastating. Wait, so we might express this as premise
No,
one.
you're
God is
you're
knowledge.
in a fallacy.
Premise two, God is the source of knowledge. Therefore, God is the source of himself. So
What's
God
that
is the
fallacy
source of
called when
himself.
you
That's
misrepresent
circular.
my position?
You said both of these quotes, did you not? These are
I do
both
not
quotes
believe
from
in
you.
I do not believe in a divinely simple Platonist God. What don't you
Are
understand?
these
You don't know
both quotes from you, or are they not?
I am an Orthodox Christian. I do not believe in
Did you
what you
say
put on the
both of these,
screen.
or did you not? You said both of them.
Mate, you're
Wouldn't we
this
expect
is
your
a straw
logical
man.
reasoning
That's the word.
faculties to work if God gave them to you? The fact that
It's a
you're
straw
incapable of
man.
actually tracking basic logic is indicative of the fact that God doesn't exist. If he
Mate,
did exist,
you're
you'd be able
making a
to
straw man
logically
fallacy and
reason
you're
through
talking to
this,
me
but
about
clearly,
logic.
because you can't, that's a good indication that he probably doesn't exist. You said God is knowledge. You said God is the source of knowledge. That implies that God is
You're
the source
attacking
of
a straw
himself.
man. You're attacking a straw
What's
man.
the straw man? Which premise is false?
Because God is not a monad. It's not divinely
Which premise
simple.
is false?
I am not a Catholic. I am an
Which
Orthodox Christian.
premise is false?
This is a straw man, buddy.
Which
This is
then
not how you.
tell me which premise is false. This is why you can't ground logic on the Christian worldview. They're incapable of engaging on it. And to be clear, anybody who's thinking about converting to Christianity, these are the pretzels that you can look forward to. This is what it's like to be a Christian. You have to twist yourself into pretzels and get steamrolled on like basic arguments.
All right.
Do you reject
discuss
premise
your
one or
worldview now.
premise two?
I did not reject either premise.
Then you accept that God's the source of himself.
Yes, God the Father is the source,
God is the
source of
source
his
of him.
Son.
That's circular.
It's not circular.
To say God is the source of himself is circular. That means that God
It's the
exists
essence-
ontologically prior to
it's
God
the essence-
existing.
Knowledge is an energy of God.
So would you say
The
that
essence
God
energy
exists
distinction is what
ontologically
I believe
prior
in.
to God existing?
You do not know my worldview at all. You should
So
go do
God
some homework,
exists
man.
before God exists. God's the source of himself. Prior to God existing, there was God. That's what you have to look forward to on the Christian worldview.
You make no sense. You should really do your homework, honestly.
Nice. I'm not going to take debate advice from you.
All right, let's see. What do you ground your worldview in?
Which part of it?
What's your ground for morality?
My ground for morality is that it's a necessary means to a necessary end. I'll allow you to pivot because you got,
All right,
put into like the checkmate there.
Is that subjective or objective?
It's objective.
What do you ground objective morality in?
I just told you. Do you need it again?
So if
Wait, if God gave you your hearing, wouldn't we expect your hearing to work? I told you not 5 seconds ago
Alright,
what I
so-
grounded in.
So what made the Holocaust wrong, for example, then?
The Holocaust is wrong because it was unfair towards the Jewish people.
But it was fair towards the Nazis, right?
Fair towards just one group of people isn't fair.
So it was the larger group of people. So what's the difference?
Because fairness takes into account everybody and their needs. Fairness does not entail utilitarianism. For example, if we had a society that was built on slave labor, even if the majority of people weren't slaves, it would still be unfair to the slaves. We need to build a society that's actually fair, where every time a group gets treated in a
What
certain
is
way,
fair?
there's a justifying
fair?
reason to treat them in that way. Fairness means that you treat like cases alike, and when you treat people differently, you have a reason to do so. There's an identifiable trait that
All
actually
right. And who
justifies treating these
dictates?
cases differently. So the reason why the
Who dictates
Holocaust
what is
is wrong
fair?
is because it
So who?
fails to
So who
recognize and
dictates?
actually respect the humanity that was present in the Jewish people. And in doing so, it makes the Nazis' self respect completely impossible because, one, they were incapable of actually evaluating themselves in relation to others because they lacked fair dispositions. And
What
two,
is
they couldn't
humanity? Are we
possibly
not apes?
respect themselves with
In your
respect to being
worldview, are we
human
not
because they
apes?
lacked respect for humanity in
What is
itself.
human? What is human?
What is human?
Is it not
You don't know
a
what human
developed
means?
ape?
Human is the
Yeah,
species
in your
that
worldview.
descends from Homo erectus that is not Denisovan or Neanderthal.
So we're just an animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
What
where
do
do
you
we
think
get
we're a
this term
plant?
humanity from?
What'd you say?
Where do you get this term humanity from?
It's a word. I'm not sure what you're asking.
The value of putting human well-being above all else.
Yeah, it's a
Who
great
dictates
question.
this? Where does this come from?
It's an excellent question. I already told you. I can tell you a third time. It's a necessary means to a necessary end. The necessary end in question here is self-respect. Everybody must necessarily be pointed at self-respect. Otherwise, they're not aiming at their
Can't
ultimate
you
end, which is a self-defeating
can't you see this
maxim.
as a
It's
contradiction?
self-contradictory.
This is the entire point you made is contradictory.
Oh, and what's the Okay, so because you're making claims that you couldn't possibly justify, what we're going to do, you make the claim, I contradicted myself.
Yes.
So what is the P and not P contradiction? What's the P here? So a contradiction takes the form of a proposition and its negation affirmed simultaneously. So for example, the ball is all entirely red, the ball is not red. That would be a
So
contradiction.
you
You
got
know, the sky is
you got
blue,
a
the
group.
sky is not blue. That's a contradiction.
Yeah. So you
So
got
what's the
the
contradiction that I affirmed? Go for it.
so you got a group of 50 people that say
Group of
that
50 people,
wellness, yeah,
group of 50
that
people,
says the best outcome
best outcome
is total control of resources.
is total control of resources.
Another group of 50.
Another group of 50,
So that's premise two, yeah. So group one
premise
must
2.
have total control of resources, yeah.
Group 1
Another group of 50.
has total control of resources.
You're so it. I think my audio is not the best. So you got group one thinks having full control of resources is the best.
Group 1 thinks having total control of resources is the best.
Group two
Group
thinks
2
that resources must be untouched and it's
thinks that the resources should
everybody's
be what?
decision, everybody's own initiative to use the resources as they please.
Should be free to use the resources as they please?
Yeah. So English is not my first language, yeah. So
Okay,
probably
sure.
it becomes
So for P and not P, we'll substitute in. So you're saying that I affirm both that I
what
affirm
I am
both
saying is
group
what I
of
am
50
saying
people,
then.
best outcome is total control of resources, but there's another group of 50 people, premise 2. Group 1 is total control of resources. Group 1 thinks having control of resources is the best. Group 2 thinks that the resources should be free to use the resources as they please and not and also that I affirm not that there's a group of 50 people where the best outcome is to control the total resources. Another group of 50, premise 2, group 1 has total control of
So
resources. Group 1 thinks having
can you
control of
be
resources is the best. Group 2 thinks that the resources should be free to use the resources as they please. You think that that's what I affirm?
no? Can you be a bit more gracious? I'm trying to
Absolutely not with a
posit it in a way.
presuppositionalist. No, no. If you want to do that precept here, you're going to get a bad faith Barry moment. So you can do try number 2. So that's just going to be blunder number 1. That's going to be like philosophical misunderstanding number 1. We'll give you try number 2 if you'd like. What's the P and not P contradiction? Just give me
All
the
right.
proposition that I both affirm and deny.
All right. So let's say humanity is made of two people.
Humanity is made of 2 people.
One says murder is right,
One says murder is right.
the other says murder is wrong.
The other says murder is wrong.
Who has the moral objective claim
Who has
out of the two?
the morality objectively? And you think, and to be clear, you do think questions are propositions? Because what you're trying to do, you made a specific claim that I contradicted myself, that a contradiction is a property of two propositions. So you're saying that this is a proposition? You think a question is a proposition? What's the truth
Alright.
value of or what is like 2 plus 2 equal to? What's the truth value of that? Is that true or false? How is your day?
The two doesn't-
How is your day true or false? So a question is not a
Alright, so
proposition. I'm asking you. You said I contradicted myself. This is just going to be blunder number 2. Let's get try number 3. What's the proposition that I both affirmed and denied?
you affirm that morality is objective, and then the ground for morality is human opinion of what wellness and what the best goal eventually is. This is the contradiction.
Oh, yeah, no, I deny that morality is not objective, so there's not a contradiction because I don't believe that.
So what is the object of morality? What is it
It's
based
virtue.
in that it's completely objective?
It's virtue.
And who dictates virtue?
Virtue is just going to be the necessary means to the necessary ends. Virtues are all
This
going
is
to
so
entail
vague.
each other
What
insofar as
necessary
any
means of
virtue.
it
Do you want the
necessarily-
this guy's not interested in the explanation, right? I'm trying to explain my ethics to him. This guy is like a bull in like a china shop where he just like keeps on like thrashing around and like destroying shit, and then he's confused as to why none of it's making sense and why he has to ask these questions like over and over again that I've already answered. I also think it's a bold move for somebody whose microphone is so quiet to attempt to talk over other people. But that's totally fine. You know, that's neither here nor there. I can just explain what virtue is to you. Virtue is the disposition to do the right thing for the right reason. Now, how do you know what the right thing is? That's a great question. It's going to be a transcendental precondition. There's necessary conditions in order to achieve any end at all. And if you have one virtue, then you're going to have all of them, because in order to have one virtue, you need practical wisdom, that is the ability to discern what is the right thing to do and what is not the right thing to do. And because this is not a compartmentalized thing, that means that to have one virtue is going to necessitate that you have all of them. So you can tell what is and isn't a virtue because it's necessitated
are you
and
a
because it's
naturalist?
a necessary precondition.
Are you a naturalist?
Yeah.
How do you have transcendental categories as a naturalist?
Sorry, are you just like pivoting away?
No, I'm not pivoting
Because
away.
there's certain things that are necessary
make a claim
preconditions.
that
So
it's
for
not- it's
example,
impossible in no truth.
beliefs existing are a necessary precondition to having any belief or believing anything. There's lots of transcendental preconditions that exist under
Blow your whole
naturalism.
worldview
And
away.
maybe you went to like the J. Dyer School of Philosophy, which is why you don't know much about it, but transcendental categories exist on the naturalist worldview. In fact, some of the most prominent naturalists, people like Christine Korsgaard, make transcendental arguments. Lots and lots of people make them. This is not a thing that's unique to a supernaturalist worldview.
It's unique to humans and the
Maybe.
human minds. Yeah, it is.
Maybe.
So
For
why?
example, like a chimpanzee. I don't know if chimpanzees probably have beliefs. A chimpanzee couldn't coherently believe that beliefs don't exist.
Do you know that they had chimpanzees in tests for over 30 years and they never asked one single question ever?
Yeah, I'd be willing to believe that. If your point is just that chimpanzees are less intelligent than us, or they lack like some brain structures that we possess, I totally agree with that. The problem is that it's just
There you go,
non-responsive
brain
to the
structures.
argument.
Well,
Transcendental categories
not-
exist in my worldview. And wait, sorry, did you get like completely refuted on ethics that you had to pivot away?
What perceives
Did you?
the
This guy got completely dog walked on ethics, dog walked on God's being all knowing, and this is what you get if you're like a presuppositionalist, right? Like you just come away with like a horrible understanding of everything. You don't learn anything about philosophy. You get absolutely mauled against people who actually do know things about philosophy, and above all else, right? Like you just become like an unpleasant person who's not interested in the truth.
I think I've been pretty pleasant until I put my headphones out, so I can now hear without having interruptions. So I can let you talk, and then when you're finished, I can speak.
Okay, sure.
All right. So back to morality, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
If let's say now in England, it's pretty soon gonna be a problem with birth rates, for example. Yeah. Let's say in 100 years, it keeps on progressing. And the best means to the best end would be having women locked up in
What?
birthing.
What?
Yeah, would that be
What are you talking
morally
about?
reprehensible?
In terms of, so first of all, I'm not familiar with what birthright citizenship is. You'd need to explain it. But
So let's
there's
say
like no
birth
shot
rates
that that's
go.
going to be the only like the necessary means to the end.
So I'm putting
Additionally,
forward
everybody
a
needs to claim a right to
hypothetical.
freedom and well-being just on the basis of their agency, a prima facie right to freedom and well-being on the basis of their agency. So you have strong reason to grant other people their freedom, which means that we would have strong reason to not do this. But sure, continue.
So it's a hypothetical.
Oh,
The whole human species is gonna go extinct.
maybe a
The best means to the best end would be locking some people up, forcing them to give birth. Would that be morally, objectively morally wrong?
yeah, of
And
course.
how?
Yeah, it would be
How?
objectively morally wrong because you'd be contradicting yourself. You'd both have to affirm that agency is sufficient for a claim right to freedom, but also that agency is insufficient for a claim right to freedom.
So which one is worse? Taking agency away from a group of people, or having humanity completely wiped out of existence?
Yeah, taking agency away from a group of people, you're going to have an extremely strong reason to not do that. I definitely value humanity and I value things like a future like ours. I just don't think that they supersede in terms of like the ability for people to have freedom and the ability for people to not get raped.
So if there an element of majority, who decides what is right and wrong then?
It's based on transcendental preconditions.
Like what?
So, for example, everybody must claim a right to freedom and well being. Additionally, everybody must be acting in ways that are fair. Rejecting
Who
either of
gives you
these
the
things
right?
leads to self defeating maxims.
Where do your rights come from?
Rights come from the fact that everybody makes claims that others ought not do things as necessary conditions, and then logical consistency forces them to extend the exact same claim rights to others. So I'll walk you
So
through the
if
argument. So I'm an agent. That means that I take actions to pursue goals. What this means is that I take actions like but in order to take any action, I'm going to need necessary means, specifically my freedom and well-being. But if something is a necessary means to your end, then you have a reason to have it. That is to say, you ought have it. And if you ought have it, others ought not interfere with it. And if others ought not interfere with it, then you have a right to that. But if your agency is sufficient for you to have that right, you must universalize this and extend a prima facie right to freedom and well being to all agents. Therefore, every single agent has a right.
you're talking in agents and stuff, talking about people, I'm not. I told you
I'm
English is
talking
not my
about
first.
agents. Yeah, I'm going to keep talking
I
about
can't.
agents.
Agents like people, yeah,
Uh,
individuals.
Not necessarily. There's some people who aren't agents. So, for example, if you're comatose, you're a person, but you're not an agent.
So for the purpose of the argument, we're gonna have to talk about actual people. So you
I'm
can't
talking
say
about I'm
people.
sorry. Maybe the argument isn't what you like. Maybe you don't like the argument, but it is the argument that I gave. So I'm not going to change it. Changing it to people rather than agents would make it false. And you make false arguments. I don't make false arguments.
You make no argument, like you're saying
I just gave
agent.
you an argument.
It's trying to give you a getaway from the actual purpose of the transcendental category of morality. Morality refers to people, to actual humans who can have interactions.
Do
So
you
a
think
person
beating
being
a dog to death
comatose,
with a shovel is
so
wrong?
is a
Wait, I'm
person.
sorry. Do you think beating a dog to death with a shovel is wrong?
Of
Objectively?
course, it's wrong. Yeah,
Oh, why? Are they people?
they're not people. No, they're animals.
Sure. Wait, so then morality extends past just people.
Morality extends. it doesn't extend past people. It's a person making that action.
Why
So
is
if
it
a dog,
wrong to beat a dog to
if a
death with a
dog,
shovel? Why is that wrong?
because a person is doing that, an individual is doing that,
Yeah, but what would make that
not an
wrong?
agent.
What would make that wrong?
The individual perpetrating
Why is that
violence,
wrong?
because an individual, a person is involved,
Yeah, but
a
why?
human
There's
person.
an individual or a person is involved with giving to charity, but giving to charity is right. So the fact that there's an individual or an agent involved doesn't make
Not
something
an agent,
automatically
a
wrong.
person.
So I'll
A
just ask you,
person
what's
doing
the
that.
wrong maker in your view? If morality doesn't extend past persons, what's the wrong maker in beating a puppy to death with a shovel?
It's still a person involved doing the
Why is
wrong.
it
So
wrong
don't you
to beat a
understand?
puppy to death with a shovel? Answer the question.
Because it's unnecessary violence against a being that cannot do you any harm.
So then you would say that morals extend past just persons.
No, they do not. A
But you just
person
did
is
it.
making that violence.
You just did it. You just granted moral consideration to non-persons.
No, I did not. Why don't you understand? It's a person
You're
inflicting
contradicting
harm.
yourself. And is the
So if
fact
a
that you
dog,
can't grasp logic more
so
expected on the hypothesis that God gave
let
you
me
your
explain to
reasoning
you.
capacities, or more expected on
No,
the
you don't have the
hypothesis that they came from
capacity to
evolution?
understand why you can't say agent. So if a dog mauls another dog, what's wrong with that?
Because neither of them are moral agents.
Exactly. So we're talking about persons as moral agents.
No, my argument relates strictly to agents. That
Your
for this like
argument makes
one
no sense
specific
in that
argument that
case.
I'm giving, this argument establishes certain moral obligations of agents, but even you grant
No, if
moral
certain moral
consideration past
obligations of
persons, and
person
I do as
towards
well.
agents, because you framed your argument in a nonsensical way. So it's
Mm.
the moral objective or the moral, how did you say it? The moral, whatever it is, of persons injecting, affecting agents,
Persons
not
affecting
agents affecting
agents.
agents.
When I
An
speak of
agent,
agents, I'm specifically thinking of people who reflect on their actions before taking them, people who plan out their
or just
actions,
say
people who are
person
capable of
then.
responding to
Why can't you say
reasons for
person?
action. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about
So
agents.
why can't you say persons, human persons then?
Because
Why do
there
you
are
have to say
persons that
agent?
aren't agents. I've already explained this to you. So, for example, a
So
comatose
those
person is a
persons
person,
aren't.
but they're not
So
an
if a
agent.
bear,
Or
so if
we might
if an
even say that like a
agent,
corpse is a person, but they're certainly not an agent.
all right. So if an agent called bear mauls you in the woods, is that objectively wrong of him to do
Bears
that?
don't
If
respond to
not,
moral
he
reasons.
has
They're not
no
the type of agent
morality.
that I'm
He's
talking
an
about, as I
animal.
just
What?
clarified.
So do you understand why
Did and I'm
your
sorry,
argument
maybe I
makes no
slammed you so
sense?
hard that you got a concussion, but I just clarified this point to you. When I'm talking about agents, the specific group that I'm referring to is people who reflect on their actions and then adjust and take the action according to reasons and considerations.
All
So
right. So
if there's an agent that
every
doesn't take
single.
actions based on considerations, that acts purely instinctual and is incapable of this kind of reflection, then that's just straight up not a moral agent.
So every moral agent in the world will. It's again a hypothetical. If every moral agent existent suddenly decides murder is wrong, how can you say that's objectively wrong?
I wouldn't say that it's objectively wrong to say that murder is wrong. Murder is wrong.
So, so
Or at
if
least you have a strong reason to
every
not do it.
single moral agent, every single human person,
Hmm.
unanimously, 100% decide that murder is now perfectly fine, how can you counter that?
Yeah, because there's a contradiction in all of their worldviews. The contradiction is that agency is sufficient for the right to freedom and well being, and that agency is not sufficient for the right to freedom and well being. In
There
order to
are
carry
no.
out a murder, one of the necessary preconditions is that you yourself are not murdered. So you would need to claim a right to not be murdered, but then you would be contradicting yourself because you wouldn't extend that
What?
to the other agents.
So
But you
what is your
claiming that
right?
right is on the basis of your agency in the first place.
You
So
talk
there would just be
about
a
rights.
contradiction that agency is sufficient for the right to be free from murder, and that agency is not sufficient for the right to be free from murder.
You talk about rights. Who grants what are
I
rights?
already explained this to you. Did I slam you so hard that you're concussed? I literally gave the argument already.
What are rights? Just say it in
Rights
a
are
plain
outward
fashion.
facing ought
So to somebody that
claims.
doesn't, if you are a good faith, just talk to somebody. I'm a layman. I'm not
I
some
grant that.
philosopher or something.
Yeah, rights
So
are
what are
outward
rights?
facing ought claims.
What do you mean? So if I have right, there's not an outward. facing
That is,
ought terms. It's an
if
inward
I have a
facing
right
ought.
to something, that's me saying that others ought not interfere with it.
So how are you gonna? So who grants you that right?
Yeah, that right is necessitated by logic itself.
In what way?
Because I walked you through this argument already. Do you want it again? I
No,
guess
you
I'll give it
did.
to you. I guess I'll give it to you a second time. Sure. So
Just
I'm an
give it
agent. What
plainly.
that means is that I take actions to try to achieve goals, but the necessary precondition for being able to take actions and achieve goals is my freedom and well-being, the freedom to select between actions and the well-being to actually follow through on them. But
So
if
why do you
something's
have a
the
right to
necessary
that freedom?
precondition to your action, then you have a reason to do that. And if you have a reason to do it, then you ought to do it. But if you ought have your freedom and well-being, then others ought not interfere with your freedom and well-being. And if others ought not interfere with it, then by definition, what you're saying is that you have a right to it. So because
So what
your
would stop me?
agency is sufficient for you to have that right, you would need to universalize this to the maximum extent to all agents, that all agents have a right to freedom and well-being.
So what grants you that freedom? How do you protect your rights?
I just told you the argument. It's because the rejection is self-defeating. There's a contradiction.
It's not a contradiction when multiple agents with multiple opinions act upon each other,
All of their worldviews are contradictory and self-defeating.
but they win. They
Who
get out on
cares? They're
top.
wrong. Are you asking a moral
So say
question or are you
you.
asking
They
like a
say they're
political
right.
question? Because did everybody see the
All
pivot that
other.
happened just now? We pivoted from morals. It was initially an ethical conversation, and then he pivoted to like a political conversation. Buddy,
It's not a
what
political
happens on your
conversation.
worldview when that happens? You know, if people come in and they do like violence against you, then there's going to be violence done against you. That's just trivial. What ethics seeks to establish is that the doing of that violence is wrong, that everybody has a reason to not do it. As soon as we've agreed that their worldviews are self defeating, then the job of ethics is done.
What do you mean, man? You jump so many hoops. It's like with evolution. You jump from single cell organism to this and that and the other, and eventually speciation. It makes no sense. You have
Brutalized.
no
This guy
ground.
got
You have no
brutalized
ground
on
to
God's
say
omniscience, then he got
you.
brutalized on ethics, and now he's pivoting once more to get brutalized on evolution.
Mate, I might not make uh, very eloquent claims because I have my limitations. But people do see this and they hear your arguments, and you know they make no sense.
My
You
arguments make
know
a lot of sense.
you cannot make a claim to objectivism in
Of
a
course I
naturalist
can. You
worldview.
might be upset about it, but having subjective ethics is your worldview, not mine. Why ought I listen to God in your worldview? Why objectively ought I listen to God? Why ought I do what he tells me?
You didn't prove God isn't real, first of
Why
all. That was
ought
the first
I
point.
do what God tells me to do?
What ought I do? What you tell me to do?
Because you have a reason to. Namely, the
What's the
reason is
reason?
that you
There's
must
no
claim a right
reason.
on the basis of your agency to
So
freedom
say
and well-being. And in
you
order
put
to
on
remain
all these terms,
logically
but
consistent, you
agent
must
is
grant
not a
this to
universal
everybody.
term.
Calm down.
Morality
There's really no
is.
reason to be getting upset. Just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. It'll all
You
be
just
over
make
soon.
silly claims.
Why ought I listen to what God tells me to do? What reason do I have? Let's say I think God exists, but I'm
What
unconvinced
are
that he's all
odds,
good.
man?
What
What do you
reason would
mean?
I have to
Why
listen to what
odds?
he tells me to do? Or is it just
Why odds?
subjective? Are your ethics
Why odds
entirely
great not
subjective,
happen?
dependent on you subjectively deciding that you want to listen to God? Is it all
Why ought?
subjective?
Why great ought not happen in a
Answer
natural
the
order?
question. What reason do I have to listen to what God tells me to?
Because in my worldview, God is the originator of all transcendental categories.
Why ought I do what he tells me?
Why can't you understand? He's the originator of
Why
morality.
ought I listen to the thing that's the originator of all transcendental categories? Why ought I?
Because if he's the originator, if he's the origin of morality, then he is the origin of what's good and bad. So you ought listen to the spring of morality.
But what reason do I have to listen to him?
You don't have to listen to him.
Then your morals are subjective. You have to subjectively decide to listen to him. It's all subjective in your worldview. In a stunning twist of fate, the atheist is the one with the objective ethics, and the
You
Christian
got it
is the
all
one with the
wrong, mate.
subjective ethics.
It's
And you know
subjective.
what? That's why I
It's a
don't believe in
subjective
God,
choice.
because I think ethics are
So
objective, and
I
you could
don't get the
only ever
rebuttal to
have
that.
subjective
So I
ethics in the
don't get the
Christian
rebuttal.
worldview. So
I don't
if
get the
you
rebuttal to
want
that.
objective ethics,
You
you need
made
to
a
come to the
fallacy.
atheist worldview. But right now, you're trying to
That's a red herring.
parasitize
That's
my
a fallacy.
worldview. You're
That's a
trying to
fallacy.
borrow from my worldview by
That
taking
is a
objective
fallacy.
ethics when in fact all
That
you have are
is a
subjective
fallacy.
ethics.
That is a fallacy.
Which one?
What is subjective is your choice to do the moral thing or the immoral thing, not what morality is.
The choice
You
about
just
whether
made
or
a
not you
huge
listen to
blunder, a
God is
huge fallacy.
entirely
You just stumbled
subjective. The
over yourself.
reason that you would have to listen to God or listen to what he says bottoms out in your subjective decision to listen to him. There is no objective ethics because it's completely coherent in
Of
all
course, it is
worldviews to
subjective.
just not listen to God. You already said that you have no
Whatever
reason, no
morality,
objective reason to listen to what God tells you to do. So your
whatever
ethics are
morality,
subjective. All the reasons are subjective.
whatever morality stems from God is objectively right. Your subjective
We
choice
just
in
disproved
doing
that.
what's right and
Wait,
wrong
you already
has
conceded
nothing
that
to do
that's not
with
true.
what morality is.
Wait, calm down. You're getting upset. But just take a deep breath
Because
and
it's
calm down. You
stupid.
already oh, wait.
It's so
Aw.
dumb, man. It's so stupid.
Hush,
What don't you understand?
baby. Don't say a word.
You just
I'm gonna
destroyed
buy you a
your
mockingbird.
whole argument. You
And
just
if that
destroyed it in a
mockingbird don't sing,
simple mistake.
Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring.
My
It's
mom is
okay.
dead. Don't talk
Take
about my
a.
mom.
My
You
mom's
take that.
dead. Okay. It's okay. Just take a deep breath. Right. We put God in a blender. We're drinking God smoothies. We've once again humiliated presuppositionalism. It's the inevitable fate of all
Humiliating yourself, man.
presuppositionalists.
Talking
It's
about
okay.
subjectivism when you don't even
I'm a
understand what
moral realist.
morality,
You're the
objective
subjectivist.
morality and
You're the
subjective choice is.
subjectivist. You
It's like,
have
it's so
subjective
low
reasons.
tier,
I have
man.
objective reasons.
It's so low
You
tier. It's
conceded
so
it.
low tier.
You just
It's
conceded
really,
it. Buddy, if
you
I'm low
just
tier, then
destroyed
you're so
yourself.
low tier that you're not even on the tier list.
You just destroyed your whole argument, man.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yes, you did.
Go ahead and demonstrate that.
You just said that morality is subjective because you choose
Nope,
if
it's
you
objective.
listen to God or not.
I didn't say that
That's
morality
fucking
is
stupid.
subjective. I said that it's objective. I've never affirmed
Yeah,
that.
you said morality is subjective in Christianity.
Yeah,
Are you
it's
serious?
subjective. In Christianity, your ethics would only be
Because what?
subjective.
Because
But in my
you can choose
ethics, they
if you
would be
follow it or not.
objective.
That's so stupid. That's
Oh, that's so stupid. That's so stupid. He says, mind twisting itself into pretzels. He's trying to find the escape and he can't do it. And for anybody who's thinking about converting to Christianity or anybody who's currently a Christian, this is the pretzel that you have to look forward to. You have subjective ethics as a Christian. The only way to have
people like you should
objective
not
right and
become
wrong,
Christians.
the only way to
People
say
like
that
you should
morals are
really not be
or that
Christians.
murder or rape is objectively
Don't be a
wrong is
Christian.
by being an atheist. That's the only way, the one and only way.
Be an atheist,
Otherwise,
man.
you need to subjectively decide to listen to God in order to hear his subjective opinion on the matter. It's all subjective on the Christian worldview. It's going to bottom out in subjective reasons, not objective ones.
Is
So if you
morality,
think that rape is
regardless of
objectively
God or not,
wrong,
is
then
morality
you're an
objective or
atheist
not?
because that's not compatible with the Christian worldview.
Is the transcendental category of morality objective or not, regardless of a
Yeah.
God or not? Is it?
Yeah, it's
So
objective.
how can you say
Morals
then
are objective, yeah.
if a God exists, then immorality becomes subjective?
Yeah, morals would be subjective because you would have to
Are you
subjectively
dumb?
decide
You
to
just
listen
said
to
morality
God.
is a transcendental category. It's regardless
Sorry, how do you
of
think that
any
responds to the premise? The argument's like super straightforward. If God is the source of morality, then you would need to subjectively decide to listen to God. If you don't listen to
those are two
God, then
different
you have
things.
no reason to do what God tells
Your
you to.
subjective
In order
decision
for
does not
ethics to be
impact
objective, you need
the
to have a
objectiveness
reason
of
to do it.
morality. Are you
And in order
seriously
for you to have
you don't
an
grasp that?
objective morality, you need to have a necessary reason, a reason that exists in all possible worlds
Your
in order for
subjective
your
choice.
morals to be objective.
Your
Otherwise,
subjective
your morals
choice
are
does
just
not have
subjective.
any bearing on the objectiveness of morality. Are you seriously gonna make that argument again?
The argument that impaled you, of course, I'm
You
going to keep
just
on making the
failed.
argument.
You just
For as long as you'd like to rage on this argument, I'm happy to keep on running through it. You just look worse and worse, and you get upsetter and upsetter every single time we go through the argument. Of course, I'm going to run through it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. On your worldview, there are no necessary reasons to listen to God, which means that your ethics are not necessary, which means that your ethics are not objective.
What do you know about my worldview?
That your ethics are subjective.
You're wrong.
I demonstrated it a number of times. In order to have objective ethics, you need necessary reasons, that is, reasons in every single person's
That's
worldview,
false. You
in
don't need
order to
reasons for
actually do
ethics
the
to be
action.
objective.
But you've already conceded
That's
that
false.
there's
You made a
no
false
necessary reason.
proposition.
There's not necessarily a reason to listen to what God tells you to do.
That is
And if
false.
there's not
Reasons.
necessarily a reason, then there's
That
no
is false. That
necessary
is
moral
false.
obligation
That is
towards what
completely
you
wrong.
do,
Reasons do
which means
not
that your
dictate
ethics are
how.
entirely subjective. You have to subjectively decide to listen to God in order to have ethics, so it's subjective.
That's completely wrong. Start to
Reject the
finish.
premise.
Ethics, again, are a transcendental category.
This guy's like
In
short-circuiting.
in your worldview, they stem from naturalism, the natural order of things. In my worldview, they stem from God.
Yeah, so then
The
they're
originator does not dictate whether or not the ethics are subjective or objective. They are transcendental category. They are objective, regardless of anybody's choice or reason. You follow them. They are a transcendental category on their own, in their own right. Anybody's reason to follow them does not affect objectivism. What don't you understand? It's completely rebutted by somebody who barely finished high school and worked as a slave, as a literal slave
that's
in an
horrible.
Eastern European country.
I'm really sorry to hear that. That's awful. So here's the
Goes to
argument.
show how unprepared you are, doesn't it?
So if ethics are objective, then everyone necessarily has a reason to follow them.
That's false. I did not.
That's
I did
true.
not
Then your ethics
proposition
are
forward.
subjective if everyone doesn't have a reason to follow them. Otherwise, I can just keep on asking, why should I do that? Why should I do that? Why should I do that? Why should I listen to God? If the answer is, well, you just have to subjectively decide to, you just have to want to listen to God, then your ethics are subjective. If they bottom out in a subjective category, then the ethics are subjective.
You are mixing up worldviews.
Nope.
In your worldview, because you believe in naturalism.
Wait, so to be clear, you don't think ethics are universal?
Are you going to interrupt me?
Well, I just want to clarify, you don't think ethics are universal, correct?
Of course, ethics are universal.
How could they be universal if not everybody has a reason to follow them?
That's in your worldview.
I'm asking you, how could they be universal if there aren't universal reasons?
Because they come from God.
Are ethics normative?
The originator of all universal or transcendental categories. I have a grounding for my worldview. I have an epistemic justification. You have none.
If ethics are universal, then there must be
no if ethics
universal. This guy doesn't understand logic. Then there must be universal reasons. There are not universal reasons.
What reasons are you seriously? That's not even part of any philosophical claim.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. What
yeah,
reasons?
Read Kant, read Korsgaard.
Choices.
Do you want me to? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, wait one sec. Give me like just like.
One eternity later.
One of the debates of recent moral philosophy concerns the question whether moral judgments express internal or external reasons. According to internalists, if someone knows or accepts a moral judgment, then she must have a motive for acting on it. The motive is part of the content of the judgment. The reason why the action is right is a reason for doing it. According to the externalists, this is not necessarily so. There could be a case in which I understand both that and why it is right for me to do something and yet have no motive for doing it. Since most of us believe that an action's being right is a reason to do it, internalism seems more plausible. It captures one element of our sense that moral judgments have normative force. They are motivating. But some philosophers believe that internalism, if correct, would also impose a restriction on moral reasons. If moral reasons are to motivate, they must spring from an agent's personal desires and commitments. This is unappealing, for unless the desires and commitments that motivate moral conduct are universal and inescapable, it cannot be required of everyone. You have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know why you would ever try to talk philosophy. You know genuinely like zero about it. So the argument that Korsgaard makes is pretty straightforward. In order to have
It's an
universal ethics,
internalist argument.
if
So
you
I'm
want
not
your ethics
internalist.
to have
An
normative
internalist cannot
force,
be.
if you want your ethics to be normative rather than descriptive, then what's required for that is a universal commitment in everybody's worldview, universal reasons.
That's false. You can't ground anything in people's worldviews.
So which part of that do you reject?
I reject the whole thing because ethics are a transcendental, are a universal category in their own right, regardless
Okay.
of human mind,
We can reconstruct
regardless of motive or reasons.
Korsgaard's argument. Ethics provide reasons for action.
So what's that got to do with ethics
If
itself?
ethics
Don't you
provide
see?
reasons for action, then universal ethics must provide universal reasons for action.
In a naturalist worldview,
Is that, do
there
you
is
agree
no
with premise 1 and
universal.
premise 2?
Yes.
So then you agree
In
that
your
universal
worldview,
ethics must provide universal reasons for action. So you would agree that your ethics are not universal.
only if universal ethics are grounded in a transcendental God.
How does that, which premise of that would that reject? Because that doesn't appear anywhere in my argument.
So I only accept your second premise if the universal ethics and ethics themselves are grounded in a transcendental
So
God.
you don't accept this argument as written?
No, because in a
So wait,
naturalist
this guy doesn't
worldview,
think that if ethics provide reasons for action, that universal ethics would need to provide universal reasons for action.
in a
You're just
naturalist,
rejecting an obviously true premise. I think every single person's going to disagree with you, and that's just obvious. If in order
it's
to have
obvious.
ethics, you need to have a
You wanna
reason for
hear my answer
action,
or
to
what?
have a universal ethics, then
Are you
everybody
gonna
would need
babble
to
like a
have that
fool,
reason
or are
for
you gonna
action.
listen?
Otherwise, your ethics are not universal because there
Are
would
you
be
gonna
people who don't have
babble on?
reasons for
Are you
action.
gonna babble on?
It's not babbling, it's philosophy. But
In
you
a
don't know the first thing
naturalist,
about
in
philosophy,
a
which is why
naturalist
when we actually engage
worldview,
in philosophy, you get
in
so upset
a
about it.
naturalist worldview, there are over 8 billion 8 billion forms of universal ethics. Everybody,
Don't
every
care.
single agent will have, because it's internalized, everybody will have their own view on
Don't care.
universal ethics.
The other
and they
people are
will not
wrong.
agree with each other. So the whole worldview
Yeah.
collapses.
No, it doesn't. All the other people are
Yes,
wrong.
it does.
No, it
Yes,
doesn't.
it does.
I can
Yes,
avoid
it
worldview
does.
collapse by
Even
yes,
even
yes it does.
one
Yes it
person
does. That's
contradicting
all this
with
guy can do is yell.
even
After he
one
got
single agent.
lambasted on philosophy, after I was able to pull up the
Man, you are
receipts,
so
pull out the book
so
and actually read
stupid.
it to him. This is probably the
How
first
can
time
you
you've
be
actually
so
had some
smart and so
philosophy read
stupid
to
at
you,
the same
but it
time?
sounds like you didn't pay any attention. Instead, all you're getting is like
No.
really mad, and I'd be mad too if I got pressure cooked like you did.
Two people contradicting
You
would make a position either true or
No,
false.
because one of the people can just be
8
wrong.
billion people
One of
having
the
a different
people can just be
different
wrong.
view
All the other
on
people believe
universal
false
ethics.
things. It's pretty
Completely blows
straightforward.
internalism
Now he's
apart.
just going to try to yap until he gets kicked, right? Like he literally isn't going to
So
stop
what
talking.
did
He's going to
so
keep on
she
trying. This is why he's like just not, he's decided that he's in like no longer listening mode.
all right.
But the argument's like very
So
straightforward.
this lady mentioned Kant, yeah?
Yeah.
Immanuel Kant.
Yeah, she's a Kantian, yeah.
So what did Kant ground his transcendental in?
In logic.
And what is logic? Logic isn't transcendental. You can't ground other transcendental.
Wait, are you asking
in
what he
another
grounds his ethics in?
Ethics, morals, logic, they're all transcendental categories. What does he ground?
Are you asking what
transcendental
Kant grounds his...
categories
Oh,
in?
sure. Sorry. I thought you were asking what Kant grounds his morals in. Kant grounds them in
Kant was an
ethics.
atheist.
But sure, Kant grounds his transcendentals in the necessary preconditions for thought itself. So he grounds it in like psychology is what he grounds his necessary preconditions in.
Yeah, you're done.
Okay.
Pleasure talking to you, but honestly,
Well, bro, that was like mad easy too. Presuppositionalists are just like not good. I don't know, man. This is like the strongest argument, the single strongest argument to not be a presuppositionalist is that like it probably works against people who don't know anything about philosophy, but as soon as you start talking to like people who actually like read, it becomes like fist o'clock like almost immediately. It's like painful.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device in which suggestions or warnings about events to come are dropped or planted.
This guy said that I lost that debate. Let's see how he does. Hey, how's it going, Jacob?
You think you won that?
Yeah, I do. What's one argument that I did bad on in that debate?
I'm crying, bro.
Yeah, you're probably crying after how bad your side did, dude. If an
You said-
atheist got
wait,
cooked
let
that
me-
hard in a debate, I'd be fucking
That
crying
was
too. Holy shit,
hilarious.
dude. I'd be
You
like,
said-
oh.
No. You said it all comes from logic, though. So it's all opinion.
Do you think logic is objective or subjective?
Objective.
So it's not opinion. Thanks.
Why? But what happens if someone disagrees with you?
Yeah, then they're wrong. What happens when the dumb kid raises his hand and says 2 + 2 is 5? He's wrong.
It's all opinion based, though.
No, it isn't. Do you think 2 +
Yes, it
2
is.
= 4 is an opinion or a fact?
But when you're arguing something that's about God, like
Jacob, you
about
did like
morals,
I think it's
about
incredible that you
morals,
did worse than
about
the last
wait, no,
guest.
no,
Like that's
about
actually
morals.
incredible.
No, about
Presuppositionalist
morals,
needs to be
about morals.
studied.
About morals, it's you say someone wants to murder someone. It's all opinion based.
No, they're wanting to murder someone or actually like
No,
murdering
no, no,
someone
no.
is
See,
objectively
see,
wrong. Do you want me to walk
Yeah.
you through the argument? Sure. You would
No,
both
I
need to
already
claim
heard
the
it all. You
right
just
in
got
order
killed,
to
bro.
not be
I
murdered,
don't
but
waste my
also you
time.
would need to say
You
that
just got
agency is
cooked.
not sufficient for the right to not be murdered, which means that if you went out and murdered people, you'd be self-contradicting. So that's why murder is wrong, is because all the other worldviews are self-defeating.
In your opinion,
No, it's just a fact, right? I laid out the logic.
no, because it comes from logic, your own logic. Why would someone?
Logic
why would
is
your
objective,
logic
as
be,
we agreed. And maybe I
why would
slammed you
but
so
why
hard
would your
already
logic
that
be
you're
somewhat
concussed
better
at
than
this
someone
point.
else's logic?
He got concussed within the first 2 minutes,
Wait,
which is why he already forgot what I said less than 2 minutes ago. But you already
even answer the
conceded that
question.
logic is objective, not subjective.
You can't even answer the question.
You already conceded that logic is objective, not subjective. So then you agree that it's not an opinion.
Well, I didn't even know what that stuff meant.
Yeah, I grant that. So objective means true, stance independently, whereas subjective means true, stance dependently. So for example, 2 + 2 is 4 is objectively true. So it's true even if nobody thinks it is. Whereas, you know, the ice cream is the best flavor. If nobody thought, or I'm sorry, like Rocky Road is the best flavor of ice cream. If nobody thought Rocky Road was the best flavor of ice cream, then it wouldn't be.
So
that's
how is
subjective.
so how is logic subjective?
Logic is objective.
Objective. Then how is it objective then?
Logic is objective because it's a necessary truth. The denial of logic presupposes logic. It's a transcendental
But that's
category.
your opinion, though. That's what I'm
No,
trying to
the
say.
denial of logic would presuppose that some things are not the case. And if some things are not the case, then logic exists. Because
But that's
logic
still your
needs to be
opinion.
presupposed in order to deny logic. Nope, it's objective.
So, but your logic comes. But then, how does morals come in?
Because logic necessitates which moral actions are right or wrong. There's a law of logic
your
called the law
opinion,
of
though. It's
no.
all
It's an
comes back
objective
to
fact.
opinion.
It's an objective fact. You're not listening. Logic, one of the laws of logic is the law of non-contradiction. And there's a contradiction in thinking that murder is okay. Therefore, we can rule out those worldviews as being false.
But that's people that made that, and I think that's a good thing that they did that. But it's still
Logic is
an opinion.
objective. It's
But
not
that's
an
still
opinion.
opinion.
Logic is objective.
But that was still opinion.
It's as much of an opinion as
that
2
those
+ 2
people
is 4.
people made that, so it's opinion. See,
Is-
your basis comes back to people made it an
Is
opinion
2 +
from
2
a
equal to
person.
4 is that fact an opinion or a fact?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
But when you bring in
Likewise,
morals,
logic is a
but when you bring
fact.
in
And if
morals, when you
logic
bring in
necessitates a certain ethical system, then that means that ethics are also a fact.
in well, I don't think we're going to get anywhere, brother.
I grant that. Right. You
Yeah.
did way worse than the last guest, to be clear. Like the last
Well,
guest
I could
humiliated
care
himself.
less. I don't waste my
And
time.
you like shat all over yourself and then like smeared it in. Like
Oh.
this was like a horrible display. Probably
Okay,
one of the worst I've ever seen. Presuppositionalists are not sending their best.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, brother? Now, you said a lot of things, and you was talking about ethics. Well, without God and without the Bible, there is no such thing as morality. Okay,
Why?
ethics are subjective because every culture that has anything good and loving and healthy about loving your neighbor, treating your neighbor as yourself, not going out and smurdering or raping or arresting or whatever,
Yeah.
comes from the Holy Bible. Okay, and y'all are talking about science,
Wait,
and
sorry,
y'all
let's stick
talking
with
about.
I'm so sorry.
Okay,
I'm
we'll
like a
stick with this.
I'm
We'll
oh
stick with
gosh, I
this.
just have like a phobia of trying to go to like a new topic when we haven't finished the one we're currently talking about. Let's just talk about
Okay.
ethics for a second.
Sure.
Now I don't base my opinions on ethics about society. That would make them relative. My ethics are objective. They're objectively true. Every single society in the world could disagree with them, and my ethics would still be true just because they're necessitated by logic. That's what makes my ethics objective, is just that logic necessitates them and that logic is objective.
No. See, logic and ethics are two different topics. Okay.
I agree.
Number one. All right.
Totally
Now,
agree.
ethics. You said your ethics were okay. Okay, but see, your ethics are subjective. They're
No.
subjective upon your. Yes, they
Nuh-uh.
are, because they're not grounded based upon a finite and non-subjective truth,
You mean
which
infinite?
means that there has to be some sort of good truth. Without God, without the Bible, society as a whole does not know anything about what morality or being ethical is. And actually, we could have a whole entire discussion between morality and what is ethical.
Yeah. Gosh, I think you raise a great point. I would need something that's objective, something that's not like a mind in order to ground ethics. Otherwise, if they were grounded in a mind, that would make them subjective. Oh, my ethics are grounded in logic and yours are grounded in a mind. I guess that means my ethics are objective and yours are subjective.
No, mine are not
Yes.
subjective. No, mine's based upon the word of God. Okay,
So it's
whereas
subjective.
yours is based. No, it's not subjective.
Subjective means that
Okay,
it's based on a mind.
subjective.
So,
There's no, because the word of God is not subjective.
but is
It's
God a subject?
it is. It's just, well, hold on. Well, it's not Hawkins and the woman that you talked about. Are they not subjective?
If who? Oh,
The
Christine
woman you were
Korsgaard
talking about earlier, you
and
were quoting her.
yeah, Christine Korsgaard. Christine
Yes.
Korsgaard is a subject, but when a subject expresses an objective truth, it's still an objective truth, right? I'm a subject, but when I say 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 plus 2 is 4 is objectively true, and I as a subject am capable of expressing objective truths. So Christine Korsgaard
cannot
certainly is a
know
subject,
good or
but Christine
evil
Korsgaard as a
without the
subject
Bible.
can express objective truths. So
It's not subjective. It is finite. It's either ones and zeros. It's yes and no, up and down, left and right, or it's not.
yeah, my ethics are
Okay? It's
objective.
not.
They give
No,
clear
it's not
delineation.
subjective. It's not subjective.
I totally agree. Ethics aren't subjective, which is why I don't think God exists.
or it's not.
Yeah.
What
So
you're talking about is subjective.
no, my
Okay?
ethics are objective because they're grounded in an objective foundation, logic. You agree
Okay.
logic is objective, correct?
No. No,
logic is
absolutely do.
subjective? Is
I
it
absolutely
objectively
do
true
not.
that
No,
logic is
because
subjective, or is that just your opinion?
no, what your logic can be based upon several different, factors, according to, I don't know, what you've read, your environment, how you were raised.
Is that
It could
objectively
be.
logical? Is what you said objectively logical?
I'm saying that your logic is
Is
not. It's not finite.
is your
It's
claim
not. It's
objectively
not truth
logical?
and
Is it
fact. Okay,
objectively
because
logical?
truth and facts are not objective.
And
They
is that
just are.
objectively logical?
You're not going to freaking. You can play the whole
Is
little
that
circuit of
objectively
logic.
logical? Your claim
No,
is self.
no,
Oh, then it's
no.
self-defeating. Why would anyone want to
No, no,
listen to
no,
your
no, no.
claims
Just
that are
because you say
illogical?
something doesn't make it so.
Your
As much
claims
as
are
you like to
illogical. You just
smile,
said that. You
as
just
much
said
as
that
you
his
like to
claims are
smile and
illogical.
deflect,
I'm
the fact
sorry.
of the matter is, you know that that's
Your
not the truth.
claims are illogical. You just said it. You just said that your
No,
claims are not
your claims
objectively
are illogical
logical.
because they're based upon
Your
other people's fucking
claims,
words
as you
and
admit,
not
are
based
not
upon reality.
logical. I'm sorry, maybe you just can't have logic on the Christian worldview, but you can have
Oh,
objective
really?
logic
Okay. Well,
and
you're talking to,
objective ethics in
somebody
my
who's based in
worldview.
science, okay?
Which
You're
field?
talking to an engineer, little boy.
Okay, of
And
course, yeah.
you're
What type
talking
of
about
engineer?
physics, okay?
What type of engineer?
We're talking about from physics, we're talking to architectural,
What type of
structural,
engineer?
mechanical, electromechanical
What type of
engineering.
engineer are you?
I've been all of them,
So
son.
you've been none of
All of
them,
them.
is what I'm getting.
I worked in all of them.
Okay, could you
Okay.
explain like
And
a for
the
loop?
biggest fact, if you didn't want to say to God, the biggest fact of science that actually attests to God would be the laws of thermodynamics, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It's all around us, even in the ether. It exists, okay? And the discussion for God is nothing cannot come from nothing, okay? Because zero, if we will go to mathematics now,
Could you
there's no such
explain,
thing as
sorry,
true
before you
zero.
pivot away,
What is energy
dodge,
measured?
dodge. So before you pivot away, I have a question. You said you're an electrical engineer. Could you explain what a power inverter is?
Could I, dude, son,
You're not a fucking
power
engineer.
inverter.
This is stolen valor. You
And
don't call yourself
stolen valor.
as somebody who's
Okay,
actually
number one,
as
when you say
somebody who is
stolen valor,
actually
you're
an
talking
engineer.
about the
You can't
military, and I've
claim
been
to
there
be an
too, little boy.
engineer. Otherwise, you're claiming to be a
Hey,
thing that you're not. Right?
okay,
You can't say that you're an electrical
so I've not
engineer if you
worked with
don't know what a
serial.
power
I've
inverter
I've
is.
not worked with serial and parallel electricity.
You don't even
I
know
don't
what
know
one of them is
nothing about that.
called. Series and parallel. You called it serial.
Okay.
You have no idea what
Was
you're
it?
talking
What the
about.
fuck does it matter?
Because you said that
What's
you're
in a
an
word?
engineer. You claim to be a thing that you're not.
You
You're a
cannot
liar. You're
be.
appealing to credentials that you don't have.
Son, if you call me a liar again, I'll come hunt you down and bitch slap the shit out of
You're
you.
a
You
liar.
understand me?
You lied about your credentials, and you're not going to do a fucking
There's no
thing.
truth in you. You're a fucking idiot.
Everyone saw
Straight
it.
up.
You're not an
Straight up.
engineer.
Straight
Every
up. You're an
single
idiot. You're a fucking
person,
liar. You talk
every single
atheism,
person
and you
saw
want
you
to
tell a lie.
detract and diffuse the fact that there is a God out there. That
Calm
the
down.
only reason that we can even
Take a deep
measure
breath.
time, the only ones that measure time is humans,
Wants to
okay?
pivot
It
so
was given
badly.
for us. No other species out there.
Why do you feel
So,
comfortable
little boy,
claiming
for all your little
credentials that you
red,
don't
your Big
have?
Bang Theory, which is bullshit, because the key word is theory,
If
which means
I
it's
didn't
never been
have
based upon a
credentials, I wouldn't
scientific
claim
method
them. I just don't
whatsoever.
know
It's a
why you feel
theory.
comfortable claiming to be an engineer when you categorically aren't one.
Well, you claim to be,
You said that you were
intelligent, but
you
you're
said that you were
not.
every kind of
You
engineer,
claim that your
including
logic,
electrical,
it's
but you
blah
didn't
blah
even
blah
know that
blah.
a power inverter, even I'm not an electrical engineer, but I know a power inverter converts direct current DC to alternating current
Oh,
AC.
okay, yeah.
That's what a
You know
power
what?
inverter does.
Yeah, it's been 20 something years, son.
You're not an
I
electrical
can't retain
engineer.
everything out there, but the fact of the
You can't
matter
retain
is,
any of
you're
it.
still an idiot,
You didn't
and you're
know
talking
what
bullshit out your
series
mouth.
was in terms of electrical circuits.
You cannot what is energy measured in, son?
Watts?
What is it?
Watts?
What
Joules?
is it? No, explain
Is
it.
it
What is
joules?
it? What is it?
Is it
It's
joules?
a unit of
Is
heat.
it watts?
A unit of energy. Energy is measured, and yes, you're right.
Let's measure. Oh, remove. What the fuck? How's this guy getting violations? Yeah. No, I don't know. I definitely gave the wrong unit too, but it's totally fine. because I would never claim to be an engineer. Because I'm not, or I'm a software engineer. I would claim to be a software engineer. I would never claim to be like a physical engineer, because that would make me a fucking liar. But yeah.